Still here? Kind of waiting for Maud, but I think we're good. Yeah, markets are really moving. A lot going on in the last 15 minutes. You took that one, Alex? All right, great. And this will be a good one to talk about, too, at some point during our webinar this morning, because it's important that you knew that this was the area down here, not this area, for a couple of reasons. Number one, there was a lot of time spent here. Remember that odds enhancer number 2, how much time did price spend at the level? Also, these are the Euro futures. So you can see this base here was created during very, very low volume time there. Of course, down here, this drop base rally, less time spent here. This level created during a pretty decent time in the markets. Nice job there, Alex. Now, there's remember, overall, there is plenty of room for the euro to drop. This is probably just a bounce. We'll come back to that in a little bit. I'm going to start out with the spot euro and really kick this thing off here, how we plan to. Okay, so this is really kind of part 2. Part 1 was a really big lesson, kind of a core foundation lesson on the whole supply and demand concept. If you weren't with us then, that's what we did. And today is the application phase of that. So let's go into the live markets and apply everything we learned. All right. But make no mistake about it. Just a little recap of that prior session. What we're really looking for in the markets are, well, put it this way: what do the price charts show us? What does a price chart actually represent? Buying and selling, right? Filled orders in a market. Would everybody agree with that? Once orders are filled, that becomes the candles on the screen, or a bar, or a line, or something. Make sense? But if you think about it, what's the only thing that is responsible for moving price? Is it filled orders or unfilled orders? Yeah, it's unfilled orders. Exactly. So, yeah, absolutely. It's unfilled orders. So if you think about it, the charts show you the opposite of what you're really looking for. Make sense? Okay. So let's go to let's go back to these Euro futures. Looks like Alex is in this, and maybe some others. Let's kind of play this out and watch this. Let's also play it out some other levels. So I'll show you today exactly how we arrive at these areas, and then exactly how we plan trades out around these areas. Okay. So take a look. Let me just make sure I'm connected here. Give me just a moment. Looks like the charts just lost the. Hang on just a second. Yeah, for whatever reason, I just lost the live feed, but we'll get that back in just a moment here. And this should do it. Happened. That was very strange. All right, the euro continues to decline a little bit. Let's just go right into the chart here. There we go. The euro has stalled out at this lower kind of pivot here. We were looking at the futures just a bit ago, and I think the futures are kind of a better representation of, let me just go back to that for kind of our lesson's sake. And then we'll get to planning out all these markets. Don't worry about that. Thanks, Mizda. Yeah, those change every day, so I think we're okay, but thanks for that. All right. yeah, let's take a look here. So there's the 45-minute chart. Let me blow up this 30-minute chart here. Okay. So that's kind of the area we're looking at. This area is not exactly a fresh area. I wanted to really run through all the odds enhancers we use and talk about, and we can do that with the euro. All right, you're currently long based on the 4-hour. Okay. And let's take a look at that one. That one's fine. We need to see more data anyway. Okay, I'll get rid of this upper level. Let's just put in fresh levels now, and I think that'll help everybody. So remember, this is a drop-based rally. The reason I was saying maybe just a bounce from here, like, you know, we got a little bounce, is because this is not a fresh area. Okay? There's, if you look to the left, we've been to this area a number of times. Okay, these are just pivot lows. Anytime you see, you know, here's the origin of that demand right here. We've had one pullback into that area, a few more, and then this one very recently, just a few days ago. And now we're back in this area again. So yeah, are you likely to get a little bounce from this area? Sure. But is this a trade that I would expect to go, you know, all the way back up and high probability and all that? No, probably not. Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, could get a little bounce from here, but now we've got some fresh supply buff. So this is good. Let me draw this in, and then we'll go over it. Now we'll go down to a smaller time frame to take a look at this area. Okay. I'm going to take the origin of that drop right here. Now the chart that we spent the most time on our last session was it was a short example of the yen. And just because we have a supply level doesn't mean we have a trade. We want to make sure that we absorb all the significant demand below. In other words, this recent drop today, just a little bit ago in the last 30 minutes, now makes this level above a key supply level to short against. Very key for the next big leg down. Does that make sense? If I take this down to a smaller time frame, we'll be able to really, I think, tighten this level up. I'm just going to go down to a 180-minute chart right here. Then I'll take the picture for you so you can see it. Actually, the level still looks perfect. So there it is. So yeah, so if you bought down here, you know, typically it's going to be okay. But what happened now is prices come down to almost the very bottom of this pivot low, which means all the significant demand in here has been absorbed or filled or used up, whatever you want to call it. Okay, meaning that you know, if we can get something to propel price up into this level, what that does now is set us up for a move down to this 123.50 and lower. Does that make sense? Okay. You shorted a pullback to that? Great. Yeah, that. No, the news is just going to speed up what was going to happen anyway. Okay. But what we can do is run a very large time frame. So now, knowing the bigger picture landscape, I would expect prices to you know, come down into this area. I'm going to draw a circle here, not because that's where prices are likely to go in the big picture, down into here. And we know that it's important to know where your larger time frame fresh supply and demand levels are, because that's what sets up the larger time frame supply and demand curve for us. It shows us in the big picture where banks and institutions have, you know, massive unfilled buy and sell orders. Another way to say that, where banks and institutions are major willing buyers and sellers. Luca, that's one part of it. Praveen, yeah, but you're missing probably the most important part, though. You need to look to the left of these areas. Drop-based rally, by definition, is a pullback into a fresh stack of buy orders. So if you're buying a pullback to that, to the drop-based rally, remember it's not fresh. It's okay, and it's okay, and the trades could certainly work out. But be very careful with that. Make sure you know how many times price has been there. Most importantly, make sure you know how deep price has gone into the level. All right. Skynet, no, I don't use volume. The only reason I use volume is the only reason is to know difference between day session and night session, mainly with the equity index markets, the S&P and all that group. Also with Euro and the futures. Remember, you can see real volume with the future. So again, but I don't care about the volume. Again, just like the candlesticks that show us filled orders in the past, which we're not looking for, volume shows us volume in the past, which again doesn't really matter to us. So given the larger time frame scenario, pip runner, well, yeah, drop-based rally is going to be lower on the curve. You just need to make sure that you haven't been, you don't have too many drop-based rallies into that area. You want to be in on that second or third one, first or second. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But anyway, let me finish this up, and then we'll go to a smaller time frame. So because you've had so many pullbacks in here, again, we expect prices to fall, and we do have a larger time frame fresh supply level above. That means we can go down to the smaller time frames, which I really wanted to get to already, and find a really small time frame to short against. Now, I think some people said in here that they did do that in a small time frame. This looks like a pretty textbook level here. Is this the one people are talking about? Let's go down to a really small time frame. Okay, we really don't have, that was a pretty steep drop. So we do have a little bit of supply above. I'm going down to these really small time frames. I can do that because I'm looking at the Euro futures. I would not do that looking at the spot. Okay, and let me just take this area right here. And I'm putting the bottom of the level. I'm starting with current price and going up the price ladder. And I'm starting with right here because that's where this drop originated from. So I want to put my lower demand line there because that's going to force me, remember, to sell to buyers who are buying right into the meat of that supply. There's also a great level in the pound. We'll go there in just a moment. Okay, so we've got some supply right up here, just under 124.70. And I know we're kind of far from that now, but don't think prices can't get back up there. I want to put my stop well above this area. So we've got two little areas on top of each other. Right, Harley, so that's what makes this a nice fresh level, because you really don't have anything to the left. There was demand here. We came down and took a little time, took about 10 minutes, but we absorbed that demand and now fell through that price. Okay. Location, and I'd say equal pip runner, but maybe a little more important. Yeah, probably more important. But just about equal. I shouldn't say that because you can have weak structure in good location, but great structure in bad location is not really going to help you. Okay. Normally, I wouldn't come down to a time frame this small. Hardly ever do that, but we had such a steep drop in price. We'll look to, I'll look to take some action if we can get price to come back up into here. Let's take a look over at the dollar. Ooh, notice the dollar is kind of stalling out here at this supply, this area of supply right here. Okay, that is a 30-minute chart. But notice, folks, how price just cruised right up until it hit an area where you have unfilled sell orders. Right, which is right here. This is that picture. This one is drop-based drop. Right, Price spent very little time here. Origin of a big move down. Now think about, and again, the other side of that is, so we conclude that, banks and institutions have some unfilled sell orders here. That's who the seller is. Remember from our lesson about a week ago or so, the other part of that is who's buying here, right? Who would buy after such a big rally in price? Okay. Probably not an institution or a bank. They wouldn't be profitable like they are. Make sense? Now this overall, now I'm on a 30-minute chart. If you look, this overall picture here is rally-based drops. That always tells me to go to the larger time frame, which I'll do next. Now for those of you that are in the Mastermind community at Online Trading Academy, you'll see that we draw our lines like that, and then next line is drawn. I'll show you exactly how we do that here. That'll bring me up to 80. Okay. You'll see we draw our lines pretty much like that. Okay. And let me show you why. Give me just a moment. I'll show you why. But this is very important. This is the level we found, and I do this supply and demand grid every day at Online Trading Academy. This is the demand level I found here. Here we bought, and for a very short-term trade, made about a little over $900 pretty quick. But take a look. Look at where the level is drawn. Now this is something, even though this isn't a currency chart, it's exactly what we want to do in the currencies too. This will be a big edge for you. Notice how the level is drawn here. You might be thinking, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to draw it around these candles, right? Well, remember, the whole point is you have to think and act like a bank and institution. If you think and act like your average retail Forex trader, you're going to get the results, of your retail Forex trader, right? And I don't think anybody wants those, your average Forex trader. You want the results of the banks and institutions, so if they can act like them. And remember, I come from that side of the business. So let me share something with you. Everybody can see this okay? All right. So think about it. Here's a gap up in price, which we often get in the Forex market on Sundays. Gap up in price. So most people read trading books and stuff and learn to trade that way. So here's the question. When price is up here, where are most people going to put their buy order? They're going to put their buy order right at the gap fill, right? Okay, they want to buy the gap fill. That's what every trading book says, and that's what you see. You see it in trading rooms. That's what everybody does, right? They want to fill the gap, play for the gap fill. So they're going to put their buy order right at the gap fill. Where are they going to put their stop? Where are they going to put their stop when they buy at the gap fill? They're going to put it right below the gap, right? Isn't that what everybody does? That's conventional wisdom. That's what all the books tell you to do. Yeah, right below the gap, exactly. So when they get stopped out, okay, so when they're going to buy at the gap fill, their stop's going to be just below it. And then when they get stopped out right there, which is a sell order, who's on the buy side? Who's buying? Who's filling that stop? That sell stop, I should say. Banks and institutions, right? Make sense? Okay. So if they're buying there, that's where we want to buy. Again, we want to think like a bank and institution, right? And that's the beauty of what we keep kind of talking about here with the whole supply-demand concept, is that, think about it, when I bought here for this trade, someone actually handed me a sell order there. I mean, isn't that amazing? Just like those of you that shorted the euro today into that supply, someone actually gave you a buy order there, right? It's just a fantastic opportunity. Let's get back to the live market. So we draw lines a little bit different to again, think and act just like a bank or institution. Okay, let's go back to the live charts. Okay, so let's take a look. So we've got our dollar there. Now let's go over to the British pound. We'll look at a different market. Okay, we're looking at the British pound. Let me just change this time frame right here. Yeah, none of this usually takes this long. Maybe it might be the connection or something. Sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at the pound. There is some fantastic supply in this market, but it's quite a bit higher. So I'm going to go to the larger time frame. And let's see if we have anything in here. Here we go. So price is falling. We've got this area down here. If you can see this area down at the bottom, looks like rally, base rally. We would never take that. This is a great example. Look at this wick in the middle. This is not a demand level to us. Look at this wick in the middle of that base. See how low it goes? That tells us that there can't be any significant demand in this area, in this level right here. Okay. You know what? I had some great supply set up for you in the pound, but we're so far away from it right now. Why don't we go over to the yen? I think the yen's probably where we might find something a little closer. Okay, we're going over the spot yen. Oh, Praveen, sorry about that. Yeah, we'll go back to that in just a bit, okay? Had some good levels up here that we just haven't been able to get to. It looks like we'll probably be able to get there at this point. Right here. Let's grab this chart. Yeah. So as far as I had a very specific plan for part 2 of the webinar. Remember part 1, part 2, we wanted to, we didn't get through all the material last time. We're going to do that today and then go into the application mode. But with this internet mess, it looks fine on my end, but it hasn't been working during this session for some reason. But the plan was to go right into that part 2, get the rest of that information out there, and then spend most of the time going into the charts and applying this stuff. That was the plan, and we'll get another date on the calendar pretty quick and get that done. We had a couple more of those odds enhancers to go, if you remember. That combined with the euro and everything moving so much in the dollar, kind of wanted to jump into application mode. So that was the purpose behind that. But for some reason, the camera on HotCom just kept playing, and it wasn't able to click on anything else. So I actually had to reboot and restart everything. So the markets are continuing to move. Why don't we just spend we just got a few minutes left here, and yeah, we'll get it all out there. No, don't worry about that. Why don't we just look at some charts for today, and we have a few minutes left, and then we'll chalk it up as I don't know, the internet or something, and we'll get another date on the calendar. Sorry for that. Let's take a look at the euro. Let's identify some demand below. So I think we already were very clear on the larger time frame. And so what we thought was going to happen is playing out. Right? Remember, this was not this is kind of the illusion of a fresh, when you have a demand level here, or what appears to be a demand level, I should say, but you've been back in this area so many times. All these pullbacks mean that you're eating away at the demand. You're filling the buy orders in this area. That's what all these pivot lows or drop-based rallies mean. So when that's happening at the same time that you have a new supply level above, that's almost a guarantee that prices are going to going lower, and that you want to find an area to short against. Okay. So what we can do now is go into now that prices are down below all that, into here. This is a large time frame. What I want to do is go inside this candle right here that I'm pointing to on a little, Gladman, we're going to go down into a small time frame and look inside this area. Okay, so I'm going to do that here. I'm just going to go to a smaller time frame. Okay, give me just a moment. Now everything's working great, of course. Let's take a look, and we may or may not find something. Looks like Alex looked already, and Alex is getting pretty good at this. He knows what he's looking for, so we'll take his word for it. But here's what we want to do. I just want to draw a horizontal line right in there. Now, that line does not represent demand. We just want to use it as a reference point. So now I'm going to scroll back until we hit that line. So there it is, right there. Okay? So this is what we're running into. If I went down to a smaller time frame, we may find something in here. But honestly, folks, probably not much. Okay, probably not much. Again, if you have to look too deep and spend too much time finding a level down there, there probably just isn't anything down there. Okay, right now we're turning at this, and that's okay. I wouldn't buy that. In fact, I wouldn't buy either of these two. Not to say that there's no way for the euro to rally now. No, it could. It could rally off of this. This is, remember, price just pulled back into this for the very first time. Okay? And this was created during a nice, right around 10 o'clock Chicago time, 11 Eastern. Not a bad time for a level to be created. The problem is, if we look just above current price, right, if I throw this on a 2-minute chart, okay, we've got some little areas of congestion above, so not something we want to buy. All right. If you're short the euro, great. I would manage that position. If you're not in it, I'd leave it alone for now. Okay. So anyway, you want to take a look at one more market. Yeah, there's plenty of room. You just want to make sure that you have a good level to lean against for a stop. Yeah, we could pull up the Aussie. Let me do that now. Yeah, for B, and then we'll go back to the pound. All right, so here's Aussie. Let's start with big picture real quick. There we go. I'm just pulling this chart up, and then I'll take a picture of it for you. Yeah, the Aussie is clearly some larger time frame supply here. Go. Yeah, when we started out the session today, I was looking at a lot of things about an hour before the session started. I was really getting prepared for our time together here, and the pound had the best opportunities in my estimation. All right, so here's the pound. If you take a look, we're basing here, but notice we've come up to this larger time frame area of supply here with no fresh demand till quite a bit lower. Okay, we've got our level down here. I'll be quick with this so we can go down to the smaller time frames. And we've got this area above. So yeah, next session, just guys, someone was asking, we will certainly start with the odds enhancers we didn't finish last time, and then we'll dive into application, and we will make sure that we have the strongest of connections. I cannot believe that happened today. Everything seems fine now, but anyway, there's a level there. More importantly, take a look. So if you like this level, you have to love these two levels. Luca, are you talking about these right here? What I'm doing now, while Luca is typing, is just combining these two levels above. Yeah, so great question there. Right, so and you're focused on the strong move, and I get that. But remember, be very careful because this is a pivot low into this. This is a pivot low into this, meaning when prices come down, think of the buy orders and the buy orders only that are causing this demand down here. The reason why prices couldn't stay there and rallied away in that area, it's because there's a finite stack of buy orders there. So every time price comes back to that level, what's happening to that demand or those buy orders? They're being filled. Demand is being absorbed, and so on, right? Okay. So therefore, we always want to go just below that, okay, which is right here. Now, we don't just want to stick to this time frame. Remember, we always start with this time frame so we know where we're at in the larger time frame supply-demand curve. Right? And also, too, Luca, don't think I'm picking on you because I'm not. But look at how, what you're saying, your question has come up 2 or 3 times during our hour here this morning. That means that most people think that way, right? Okay. That means that most people are going to be interested buying here. Would everybody agree with that? So if most people out there, and I agree with you that most people would be interested in buying here, where's that group going to put their stop? Just below the area. Again, which happens to be our fresh demand. Okay, are you starting to kind of get it? So when most people are going to stop out of their long, which means a sell stop, a sell order, who's going to be on the other side of that trade? Banks and institutions, right? And hopefully, if you're following along in these webinars, hopefully you too. Again, it's really incredible. It's a great opportunity because people will actually hand you a sell order right here. All right, exactly where you want it. Okay, so now we know where we're at in the big time frame. Let's go down to the smaller time frame. Yeah, it is a little subtle, but believe me, you don't want this to be easy. You'll be happy this is not just super easy. Just, hey, find this pattern and go trade it. Okay. Once you get this, you'll be thrilled that it of any little nuance or anything like that. Okay, let's go down to a small time frame. John, in some cases it is. In that case, I don't think it was. So I'm going to go down to, I don't know, a 15-minute chart. And all I'm going to do is look inside that rally. Yes, we've got a couple little areas in here. Get rid of volume. We certainly don't need that. Pull this chart over, blow it up once, and snap a picture. No, I wouldn't say that. GY. Remember, when the euro is falling so fast like that, there's just no buyers there, right? No one's stepping in and buying, and the chart tells us that because remember there were no demand levels that price just fell through. There was nothing there to stop prices from falling. Remember, the picture of those unfilled buy and sell orders is very clear on the chart if you know what you're looking for. And obviously, they were significantly lower. So. Let's take a look in this area right here. Okay, I'm going to identify this level right here. It's quite a bit lower, so I'm only literally going to spend a minute on this, and then we'll move on. and that one, and that one. Okay, so this is the only demand level that will come up before that larger time frame demand. Make sense? Yeah, we always want to know, Vishal, where we're at on the larger time frame. Remember, location is critical in this. All right, I know we're running out of time here, but I do want to show you one more thing. So just give me a moment here. I want to answer, saw a couple of questions, kind of the same question. Let me just pull something up to help answer that. Give me just a moment. Okay, so someone asked, yeah, I'm in Chicago, Someone asked, what if everybody learns this stuff? Is it still going to work? I've seen that question come up before. I used to be worried about that. I'll be honest with you. I used to be very worried about that. And, I didn't used to do webinars and stuff like that because I'm like, I don't want to give away the edge or anything like that. Yeah, Ray, I'll be in London next week, so maybe we'll see you there. But take a look. This is why I am not worried about that. I mean, you can scream this stuff to the world, and the majority of people are not going to do it. Here's why. Okay. Take a look. This is a semi-recent trade here. All right. Take a look at the euro, and let's look at the chart in the upper left corner. Demand level, pullback. All right. But notice this drop in price. This is similar to today, really strong drop in price. How many people would be a little scared to push the buy button right here? Would you be a little nervous to push the buy button here? And I know I'm talking to a pretty advanced group here, right? Imagine if we asked that question to just the average person, right? Would you be comfortable pushing the buy button, or would you be a little nervous? Not only would most people be a little nervous, but they would almost push the sell button here because the news is bad and you have scary red candles. Yeah, a lot of people are typing, kind of nervous, right? And this is the euro. Now, most people, and also too, as Pete is pointing out, most people wait for confirmation and get in way too late. Why do they do that? Because they're too scared to buy the demand level, right? Buy with a tight stop, as Spin Doctor is saying, exactly. But it's the same thing. They're doing that because they're too nervous and scared, right? And so as you can see, this trade worked out fine. I made a quick $600 in this in a pretty short period of time. Right? Stopped at the demand level, turned higher, and traded up to where the sell orders are. We're profiting from that move. Okay. Paul's going to use a limit order and then close his eyes. Not a bad idea, Paul. I know you're joking around, but it's not a bad idea. But here's the thing. Here's why I am not worried that this is ever going to stop working. First of all, I haven't created anything new. Maybe I'm suggesting something different in the trading markets than other people, but how you make money buying and selling anything has never changed and will never change, right? The only reason why you're nervous when it comes to the euro here or any trading market is because it's a trading market and you've been brainwashed and taught and conditioned to think the wrong way. What if I told you that this chart was actually a chart of these Samsung LED smart TVs? Does anybody have one of those smart TVs? These things are amazing. They do everything. They've got the internet and LED and 3D and and they make bigger than a 55-inch now. What if I told you that this was like a 60-minute chart of those smart TVs, this one, and all of a sudden you see this happen? What are you going to do? You're probably going to run to that store as fast as you can, right? And you're going to buy one. You're going to think, all right, I need one in the living room. I need one in the bedroom. I need one in every bedroom. And at this price, I'll take one in the bathroom too, right? Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, Pip Runner's the smartest one here. He's going to buy a few and then sell some. Yeah, exactly. And we're all wouldn't we be excited about that? Would anybody be nervous? No, we'd be thrilled. We'd actually probably call people after we did it and brag to them. But because it's a trading market, now it's the opposite reaction. And that's the thing that is so amazing to me, is that people, people think that how you make money buying and selling anything is somehow different from how you do it in the financial world. Okay. As Boyke, I'm glad you wrote that. People would call this a falling knife over here on the left, but on the right, that same picture, if it's not a trading market, is a sale and a great opportunity, right? The reason why people call this a falling knife is because in their eyes, it is a falling knife, right? They're blind. They're seeing through this this illusion. What they're seeing is not real. What they're processing in their head is not real. The reality is, prices are at prices have declined to a level where willing demand exceeds willing supply, which means it's very likely to move higher, which is where we want to buy it. Make sense? Okay. The other thing that will keep people from doing this, what was the trend when I pushed the buy button here in the euro? Okay. Well, what was the trend? It was a downtrend, yeah. All right. Have you ever read a trading book that said buying a downtrend? No, it doesn't exist. Right? So not only, let me just take that question one step deeper. Not only will most people be too scared and nervous and all that to buy into a financial market when prices are down, but they actually want to do the opposite most of the time, okay, because the news is bad and all that stuff. So don't worry about that. Okay. Yeah, and most people say you can't time the market's turning points, and we love that. The last thing you want is for people saying you can time the market's turning points. Okay? As a trader, that's what you want. All right. So the markets are kind of stalling out in this area. We've hit those opposing levels. Not a whole lot of movement going on. And I know we're more than out of time here, so really apologize for the technology today. Was not able to stick to plan, and I figured you'd want to see the market since they're moving so fast as well. So we'll get another date on the calendar pretty quick and record that one as part 2. All right. Thanks again for your time, and we'll see you shortly. Have a good day, everybody.